Just to finish up immunity, the focus that we want to have is acquired immunity. And an acquired immunization or immunity you can get from either being exposed to the organism, a vaccination to the organism, or receiving an antibody from another individual. So we've got a couple options, and what we have with our with COVID right now is our best bet is to get a vaccination and allow our immune system to respond. And what we end up having is the exposure to that vaccination, which are usually dead or altered or a piece of what that organism is going to look like. And in this case, what COVID vaccine, a little piece of it, you expose it to the immune system and you get this little immune response. And this is when you have that little response to the antibodies being made. And then the next time you get that exposure, you get this much greater in number and speed of antibody response. So you can see in this first upper right hand corner, you've got this amount of antibody and you have an increase and a decrease with that green. You get your second, and then all of a sudden, like wham, you have a really, really quick response, and which allows that your immune system to respond to the exposure quickly. And this is really what helps us to protect each other from passing it along. So here's an example of what happened once the measles vaccination came. You'll see that initially we had a lot of individuals dying, and then here's the measles epidemic, that was insufficient vaccinations, and here is once we started getting the flu. When we started having a vaccination, the number of incidents was decreased dramatically and the fatalities decreased dramatically. And so getting that flu shot is another step that we can help to keep each other healthy. Our risk factors for infection are controllable or uncontrollable. So as we get older, we have we're a little bit more susceptible, and we're talking about people over the age of 60. um, People that are recently having surgery, having treatment for cancer, live in conditions that are perhaps real crowded, poverty. Those are uncontrollable. But the controllable things that we can do is to manage your stress properly. That's why it's so important to learn how to relax, learn how to be present, learn how to be um, to let go of things and to manage time well. All of those things are important for our controllable factors for infection. Eating well, having a diverse diet, getting regular physical activity or exercise, and when we can, get a vaccination. We have choices. These are behavior related changes that can have an effect on our disease transmission, and that would be traveling, how well we protect ourselves before we travel abroad to make sure that we're aware of what kind of organisms we need to be conscientious of. The use of illicit drugs, sharing needles, for example, sharing syringes, even getting a tattoo at a place that is not hygienic. So those are changes or behavior choices that can impact our risk of disease transmission. There is a lot of vaccine controversy, and I would be remiss to not acknowledge that. And this is just an example of what happened in 2019 in California with the rates of individuals that chose not to get vaccinated for measles. And the fear is that you're going to have a reaction to the vaccine. But the number of the percentage of individuals or the risk of having a serious reaction is much, much, much lower than the chance of having severe illness. So it is a it is a risk-benefit ratio. So here we have in 2014, the number as the darker area. This is a community in California where they had a tremendous number of individuals that chose not to get vaccinated. And there was a tremendous outbreak of measles in that community. Now, breakthrough illnesses do happen, but that means the vaccinations will give us a protection against severe illness. And that's really important to recognize. Doesn't mean that you might not get symptoms, but if you do get ill, it's going to be much less severe and less likely to be hospitalized and get on a ventilator in the COVID world. You hear a lot of talk about herd immunity, and when are there enough people that the vaccine people are vaccinated, and that's all the yellow folks in a community, then the green folks are healthy but not vaccinated, and then you have the sick folks. And you'll see that the individuals that are sick, not vaccinated, are much lower than those that are vaccinated. And so it's sort of watered down. Your risk is really watered down, and that helps to protect those that cannot get vaccinated. There are individuals that cannot get vaccinated simply because they're allergic to the carrier, or they're under some sort of treatment, for example, for chemotherapy, and they're immunocompromised. So doing all of the steps that we can to keep ourselves healthy also serves to keep others healthy. So how can we prevent and treat infectious diseases? Well, I didn't go into sexually transmitted infections, but there are really just 3 major steps to keep yourself healthy from sexually transmitted infections. And here I have sexually transmitted diseases, but it's more prevalent, more common to say STIs. Abstain, be faithful, use condoms. Abstinence works for many individuals. Being faithful and being honest and talking about your sexual history and getting tested before you engage in sexual intimacy is a good decision. It's showing respect for your partner and yourself. And always use a condom. Learn about common infections that you are going to potentially be exposed to if you travel or if you go to a high-risk area, and really participate in all of the efforts in your community. And as we're in this global pandemic, vaccination is one of the key steps to be able to do your part to keep yourself healthy, your family healthy, and also those that are in your circle of community. And finally, prevention. Support your immune system. Eat well. Make sure that you are getting your fruits and vegetables, that you are taking time to be active. That actually stimulates your immune system. We have a better immune response when we exercise. Get enough sleep. I hope that the sleep topic has encouraged you to recognize that it's helpful for recovery, for memory, for making good study habits, to do well academically, to be more pleasant to be around, and also to give your body time to recover and be prepared for the next day. Can you manage your stress? Take whatever technique works for you. If it's the meditation, if it's progressive muscle relaxation, if it's doing some stretching, some breathing, learning how to decrease that cortisol, and because that is actually stress, depresses your immune system. And so excessive stress, that's why we often get ill during exam week. We're not getting enough sleep, we're not eating well, and we have this concern, worry, How am I going to do on my chemistry exam, my physics exam? Am I going to get all my work done? That actually depresses your immune system. So start preparing now for the finals so you can be ready to go and you can stay well. Smoking also depresses your immune system. So the not smoking is important. And I'm going to include vaping on this as well. Okay. Uh, vaccinate. Vaccinations are important. We can now get the COVID-19 vaccine for children 5 and above. My 2 grandkids just got vaccinated. They're ready to get their second one, and they're doing great. Uh, if you've been exposed, be proactive. We want to isolate if necessary. If you get exposed to somebody, have been around long enough and you haven't had a mask on and someone tests positive, you need to be proactive and isolate yourself and stay away from others for the prescribed amount of time. Be very hygienic. Make sure that you are taking all the steps you can to decrease that chain of the chain of infection, right? The transmission, the mode of transmission, cover your sneezes, your coughs, etc. Make sure that we're always washing our hands for at least 20 seconds. It's so important. Get in between your fingers, take your rings off, back of your hand, side of your hand. Make sure that you are always washing your hands very, very frequently. And if you do get an antibiotic, take it all the way through. Don't stop when you're feeling better. Remember, you have that period of recovery, and that is when you start to feel better, but you still want to take that antibiotic all the way through because it's going to decrease the chance that we get superbugs. And I'm going to ask you to continue to be vigilant with wearing masks. If you look culturally, there are a number of cultures, and if we look at China, for example, if somebody's ill, they just take responsibility and they wear masks. It's part of there is a government push for it, right? So if you don't wear a mask and you go around, it's actually criminal. And I had a conversation with a Chinese graduate student about this yesterday, and that's why we see so many people wearing masks if they're sick or in the winter. So even though you're the only person wearing the mask in Aldi, be that person and always take care of yourself and those that you care about.